Welcome to this week's episode of Marv on Air. Today is October 3rd, 2024, and we have a lot of football to break down. There was a few really good games this weekend, especially in the college football landscape, and we're going to be breaking it all down. We got a brand new segment this week to break down the NFL games, so if you are new to the show and you're not quite sure what to expect, stick around. That's going to be awesome. Joining me today for the first time in this new studio. Last week we had a little bit of a trial run. Okay, it was just me and Chase. If you watched that, kudos to you, because that was probably the worst piece of content we put out in the last year. Nothing against Chase, but just a tough situation for us to be in. Joining me in the studio today, all right, this is the first time we've had someone in studio, is Mr. Alex Redden. Redden, that pink on that sweatshirt, along with the black hat combo, that's like
beautiful.
It's awesome. It's like a ninja suit.
Very beautiful.
I actually really like that quite a bit. We got the whole lights in here. We got the cameras. I'm really excited about everything we got going on. Speaking of things that are going on, Chase, with that new camera joining us today. How we doing, Chase? The Iowa fit. I don't love it. I do not love it, but I'm glad that you are excited to be an Iowa Hawkeye. How we doing on this fine Wednesday evening?
We're doing great. We're doing great.
Okay, well, that's all we needed to hear. We're going to jump right on into it.
Look at this guy.
Hammer!
Whoa, close!
Oh my God, I should pop off on your ass about the coat.
We beat family.
Come on,
you're
telling me.
One set. Iowa State is going to win this game.
Now I'm a bromsexual and go broad.
For the first time, it is time for Talkin 25. We have a lot of college football to break down. I made the mistake of going off the ESPN power rankings, okay? So don't sue me. I thought they were just going to steal and repost the AP top 25. They're pretty close, okay? They're not that far off, especially in the top, 10 or so. And we got to just kind of talk about some of the movement that went on last week, a couple of the big games. The biggest one, obviously, was Georgia, Alabama. Redden, please, if you would, talk a little bit about what this game meant moving forward for the college football playoff and what we saw out of, is it Kalen DeBoer?
Kalen DeBoer.
Kalen DeBoer's new Alabama team.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the college football playoff, I'm not too worried about either of these teams. Like, watching that game, even though in the AP poll Georgia might have dropped a few spots, like, watching that game, it felt like that's why you watch football. And it's like, those feel like two of the best teams in the country. I think both of them would probably make decent runs in the playoff. So I'm not too worried about either of those teams. The first half was just all Alabama. Like, Alabama looked like they could beat up on some bad NFL teams, even though, no, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
But in theory, that's the hypothetical we like to go with. And then the second half, on the flip side, was like all Georgia and Ryan Williams. But, It was all Georgia. Georgia looked like the best team in the country for the second half. Then, obviously, we get down to, 3 minutes left in the game, and it goes from, being a really, really good game to an instant classic.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was beautiful to watch. Ryan Williams had a phenomenal game. He's, almost 5 years younger than me, which is insane.
Very concerning.
How? He was born in 2007?
Yeah.
That's a scary stat. If you're born in 2007, you should probably be going into maybe 8th grade right now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Literally. In my mind, kids born in 2007 are still in junior high.
They're all 14.
Yeah, easily. Skibbity toilet or whatever the hell they say. I don't know exactly what goes on for 2007 kids, but I know this. If you didn't see this last week, the Bama Tide hadn't been dogs at home since 07 or 06.
It's wild, yeah.
And that's when Williams was born. So he was out there. I mean, his little step spin shit that
it made no sense.
It was that kid is so fluid. He had to have. This is not a knock. He had to have done ballet to be that fluid on the field.
It's crazy.
It's actually insane. He played so good in that. I think 5 catches for 177 yards and a touchdown.
The stats were wild. The clutch plays though.
Oh yeah.
Whenever they needed him, he was there.
To show up with a couple minutes left when they were down by, was it 1 or?
Yeah, 33 to 32.
To go from 75 yards out and win the game in one of the biggest games we've seen this year. Dude, that's just absolutely unreal. So kudos to him. If you know Caleb Williams, or excuse me, not Caleb Williams, but Mr. Williams, we'll call him Mr. Williams. I think he's earned that title. I think he's almost earned Dr. Williams.
Sir
at this
Williams.
point. Yeah, Sir Williams. We need to
be
knight that
knighted.
man. Yeah, we need to get him on here. If you know him and you're like, hey, these guys are pretty chill, get him
Reach
on
out.
here. Yeah, reach out to us. We would appreciate that. Chase, how do you feel about a 17-year-old being better at sports than you will ever be, and what did you make of this game?
There's not much feeling there. I was never a great athlete compared to him. I mean, he's 6 foot, 175 pounds, and he's making, at 17 years old, making the SEC defense look silly. Six receptions for 177 yards, 1 touchdown, the long being the 75 reception with the spin move in it. He's a freak of nature. It's exciting to see what he'll do because this is probably the worst we're going to see him when you think about it. This is the worst version of Ryan Williams we will see probably, unless he has some fall off or, God forbid, some huge injury like an ACL. Yeah, he's fantastic.
Jeez, calling for his knees. That's kind of crazy. We would never wish
No.
an injury on anybody. That's Jesus, Chase. I don't think they play Iowa anytime soon. We could just relax with that one. Yeah, Georgia dropped, I think, to 5 in this power rankings. I don't mind that. I think they're still really good. Like you said, one of the best teams in the country for sure. One of the best teams in the country we thought going into this week was Ole Miss. Per ESPN's power rankings last week, they had them at 6. They got their shit rocked. And I mean, it's against Kentucky, and we kind of talked about, is Kentucky good or is Ole Miss bad? And what I made of this was maybe we don't schedule 4 dog shit opponents back to back to start the season and then find out where we're at in week 5. I don't know about that. What do you think of the scheduling there from Ole Miss there, Red?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those where it's like people are going to criticize it one way or the other. If they play insanely good teams and they like drop one game, they're going to be like, oh, well, that's why you don't play anybody. And if you don't play anybody and then you play a frisky Kentucky team and get beat, then everyone's like, oh, like you're fraudulent. Like, why didn't you play anybody good? So really, I mean, they can't win one way or the other. Like, it's just kind of how it goes. I'm still not too worried about Ole Miss. Like, they're just so good offensively. I still think that they'll probably be a top, like, 10 team come playoff time. I think they'll probably still make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Their schedule, not great going forward.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they got LSU, Oklahoma, 2 games. Like LSU scary, Oklahoma I wouldn't be too worried about, but they play Georgia as well. But they also have Florida and Mississippi State to end the year. So they're going to end the year, probably not make the SEC championship game because they'll probably have 2 losses. And then they're going to beat up on Florida and they're going to beat up on Mississippi State. And everyone's going to be like, oh, they're a 2-loss SEC team that should probably be in the playoff.
They'll probably sneak in, you think? Yeah, I could.
If I had to
definitely
guess,
see
they'll be like the 10 seed or 9 seed or something
that.
like that.
Oh, really? I was going to go 11 or 12, so 9 or 10.
Well, 12 is going to be probably
G5.
UNLV.
Yeah, probably. Speaking of, that's a great pivot point. I do want to get one last point from Chase. What do you make of that? Is it Kentucky's good or is it Ole Miss stinks?
I don't think Ole Miss stinks. I don't know if Kentucky's good. You can drop a game every once in a while, not play well. They had 92 rushing yards, low for them, and then they were 1 of 10 on 3rd down, which, I mean, it's just not a good recipe to win a game.
I have to agree with you on that one. That's not going to equate. But you jumped right into UNLV, and I like that. And the power rankings here that I have, they come in at 24. I don't know where they're at in the AP, but I do know that they are ranked. It's like the first time ever. Obviously, Sluka, sits out, does his redshirt year, so he's not playing for them, and they still get the win. What'd you make of that one, Chase?
Yeah, the QB they brought in is a 6th-year senior. He transferred in from Campbell. So he played pretty well. I didn't watch the game, just kind of a recap of it. But they're still a solid team. They could definitely sneak into that 12 spot if they stay on the track they're on right now. I think they'll be frisky. I don't think they'll get out of the first round, but, I mean, they're there.
Yeah, no, they definitely are there. And Red, will you break down their schedule a little bit, just kind of see if it's possible for them to sneak in with this? Obviously their backup played really well, quote unquote backup, now starter, played very, very well. Do you think that they can get it done?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be tough. Like, they're either going to be like a legitimate 12 seed and like what everyone envisioned for this 12 seed. Like, okay, they're a group 5 team or group 4, whatever you want to call it now.
Yep.
And they beat like some middle of the pack teams. Let's see what they can do. Like, I think that's kind of what everybody aspires that 12 seed to be, or whoever the group 5 team to get in is. They have Syracuse left. That's a all right game.
Yeah.
Nothing too scary. The only games that are like scary left that I feel like they have are Boise State. They do play Boise State, and I feel like the winner of that game, hopefully it's just the winner of that game's the 12 seed.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. Like, people
like
are saying Liberty because Liberty plays like absolutely nobody. Like, they don't
So they'll be undefeated.
they don't even play like Sunbelt teams. Like, they are
Really?
terrible, but they just don't play anybody. So there's a chance they get the 12 seed and they're 12-0, but it should be Boise State or UNLV based off what we've seen so far.
Well, Boise State is the last team that I really want to touch on out of these top 25 because obviously there's good teams everywhere, right? Like Ohio State, Miami's obviously, I think that with Cam Ward and what they're doing, that the end of the last few of their games have been kind of dicey. But ISU, we should touch on them. We're not going to. They're going to go 6-0 to start the season. We'll talk about them then. But Boise State and that run game is unreal. It was a little bit of like Pac-12 after dark vibes. This was the last game on. I think it ended at like midnight or 1 or something like that, Central. It was awesome. I was a big fan of the late game. And Jesus, Genty, talked about him in like week 1 or 2. He was my hero of the week. Stick around for Zero to Hero. If you haven't heard it yet, you're going to enjoy it, especially what's come down the pipe today. That's a great analogy for it too. But they block for him so well, and he fires through those holes. He's so fun to watch. One of the few. What do you make of it? Do you feel like he's a power back, kind of like what we got in Derrick Henry, or do you feel like he's a little bit more agile, kind of like we were talking about before the show, like what we think running backs might be in the next 10 years? If you look at the average build of a running back, it might more resemble like a Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, with Genty, it just comes natural.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like he's always just doing the right things. It feels like he can be a power back. He can be a receiving back. He kind of just does it all. And he's a little bit shorter, and he's just kind of built compactly, but he just moves so fluid. And so I'm really impressed with him. I think he'll probably be like he'll probably be like a first or second round draft pick, maybe.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I don't know how old he is, but if he can go after this year, I'd say he's probably a top 60 player, draft wise. So
I don't know,
second round.
I don't know where he's at, in his whole draft process, but man, he's really turned some heads. And if he can keep this pace up, like that is just simply, I feel like unprecedented. He has like 800 yards through
four games, like 3.5. He didn't play the second half of one of the games.
Yeah, and 13 touchdowns or something. I think his odds to score in their next game is like minus 1,500 to score 1 touchdown.
His odds to score 3+ or minus.
Yeah, it's insane.
Wild.
His line was like 194.5.
Yeah.
That's not normal. Like, that is absolutely not normal. And it might be a combination of the teams are playing, I guess. Like, if he faced an Ohio State, it'd probably be a little bit different. But that line is, and that whole team just appears to be firing on all cylinders, if you ask me. What do you make of that team, Chase? Boise State really as a whole, but obviously Genty is kind of the main talking point there.
Yeah, I don't really know much about Boise State as the team. Genty is an absolute freak. He's averaging over 10 yards a carry, which is just unheard of. Whether it's sustainable or not is a different question, but as of right now, it looks like he'll get it pretty easily. He's 20 years old. I looked it up, 5'9", 215. So, I mean, he's got some bulk to him. I've been seeing his TikToks on my For You page of their running back trio. So, I mean, yeah, he's a stud. I'm looking at it now. He wants to get 2,000 yards this year. I don't know if anyone's done that in college football. Could correct me if I'm wrong. But
That'd be like
1,200 yards left. It's not bad.
Yeah.
On this pace, he'll hit it in
That's
week
what,
10.
18? Yeah, it'd be 180-ish yards a game.
That's
around there.
I mean, it's not undoable.
Wild.
That's not. I mean, his line is 194. Like, those books usually have pretty nailed down. I mean,
Chase, check yes or no. Do you think he's a Heisman hopeful? Maybe even a Heisman favorite?
Yes, he has to be right now.
Well, statistically, but is it something you like?
Why are we coming at me for this?
you're the betting guy. What are we? Don't come at us. You're the fucking betting guy.
I don't know what his odds are for it, but I assume they're around like the
plus
700 mark right now.
Red says 11.
Guess. Really? Great value there. Take it. Yeah, if he keeps this up, I mean, I don't know how you deny him of it unless Travis Hunter keeps balling out like he is. I mean, just a freak.
Well, our friends over at PMT seem to be pretty high on Travis Hunter, but I think the Marv on Air stance, or at least the host of Marv on Air, is going to be on the Genty train until he proves me otherwise. That Heisman race, I mean, it really is kind of just between those two right now. Do we agree on that? I feel like it has to be.
It should be, but Milroe and Ward are.
I don't know. Chase, what do you think about Ward? Ward was a bit of a topic of. Yeah, what do you think about Ward as a Heisman? We were talking about it before the show. A bit of an odd conversation there. We weren't really sure what to make of that. Feels like he could be, like he's not really the typical necessarily, but I mean, with Travis Hunter doing what he's doing, it's going to be tough for anybody, really.
Yeah, Ward has to ball out the rest of the year, I'd say, to get it, which is very doable for him. He's a freak, too. I'm sure his odds are pretty low compared to other people's. I'm not up to date on Heisman odds or anything, but I don't know what the rest of their season looks like. I'm sure they'll run into some pretty good teams. So if he beats good teams,
it'll look good.
Win it.
It'll look good. We'll dive into the Heisman talk more as the season goes on, but obviously with those guys doing what they're doing, we had to touch on it right away. And with that, I think that's going to close off our college football. What do we call it? The Talkin 25.
I like it.
Big shout out to Red for the name
I like
there.
it.
Chase, less than helpful on naming that, but hey, we don't come to you for creative situations. We come to you for lines. Speaking of lines, it is Handicap Hour. We got a brand new segment today. I'm very, very excited about what we got in store because we're going to be previewing the NFL slate by breaking down every game and setting the line at what we think it should be. Okay, so if we're talking about Browns Seahawks, which is not a game this week, but just a hypothetical, and we're like, oh, the Seahawks look really, really good coming off of this. We got this guy doing this, and the Browns lost this guy to injury. Okay, I like the Seahawks -7. And we talk about it, we come to a conclusion, and then we might look at the books and say, hey, well, the books actually like the Browns here, so why are we not? The spread just seems like obvious, right? Like that was something we should definitely explore. We keep track of that. We'll see kind of how we do along the season. We did, not myself, but Redden and former, well, he's a friend of the show still, but former man on the show, Cole, did this last year, and actually the results were pretty favorable, so you're not going to want to miss this. But diving right into it, on Thursday night, the night you're watching this, Bucks at Falcons. Redden, you are kind of the creator of this segment. Will you lead us off with your thoughts on Bucks Falcons?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Bucks. I said, if I had to guess, Bucks -3.5. I feel like they're just rolling so well on offense, and the Falcons, they're frisky. They're frisky fun, questionably. But there's too many question marks around them right now for me. So I like the Bucks -3.5 here. I have no idea what the actual line is, but to me, I feel like the Bucks should be favorites.
Okay, Chase, do you have any input?
Who's home?
The second team I say will be home. Just for future reference for those listening as well, because we are going to have a graphic up next week. I just am the worst procrastinator ever and didn't do that. So it'll be Bucks Falcons. Falcons is home.
Okay. It is probably Bucks. I think it's probably a little tighter. It's probably 2.5.
That's where I'm at. I had them 2.5 as well. Guess what the line is? Well,
2.5.
I guess we just fucking guessed. So anyways, it's Atlanta -1.5. So maybe we look into the Bucks here to cover. I like the Bucks a lot more than I like the Falcons. Granted, they are at home, and Kirk Cousins talked just about how much he likes. Was it the Hawks Nest out there?
He likes how they do the swag and the surf.
Yeah. Well, of all
typical Kirko.
I say that is so Kirko. What are Kirko chains? That's absolutely unreal. So we're gonna be on the Bucks this week. I'm keeping track here, so we'll see how this pans out. Maybe we'll touch on it at the end of the season and see how it goes. Or you guys can keep track of us. Keep us accountable on social media. Follow us at @MarvOnAir_show on Instagram and Twitter. You're not going to want to miss what we're putting out there. Next up, we have on Sunday at 8:30 a.m. a London game, I believe. Jets, Vikings. So technically Vikings are home, but they are not necessarily in US Bank Stadium. I will kick this one off. I feel like this is the Vikings one to take. However, Rodgers overseas is always a scary monster. Okay, we got to be aware of that. So I think with that in mind, I kind of want to go Vikings -3.5. Keep it lower than it probably should be.
Yeah, I said Vikings -2.5. I don't know. I feel like the Jets are just a terrible organization. And when you're looking at any game that's played not in the U.S., I feel like it's a good idea to be which organization is better? Like, who's going to have a better travel schedule? Who's going to have, like, everything down logistically? Like, I think there is a little bit to that. Like, if the players are like, oh, our shoulder pads got lost or whatever, or whatever it may be, I feel like when you look at these games, you definitely put more value than normal just on the organization itself. Yeah. So I'm taking the Vikings -2.5 is what I said.
I like that as well. Chase, are your thoughts aligned with ours? We were pretty close, 3.5, 2.5 there.
Pretty similar, just based off vibes of the game. The Jets played pretty bad last week. Vikings looked very solid. I would almost let it spread a little more. I'd think Vikings 5.5.
Ooh, that's pretty big. I think if it were in US Bank, I'd probably be around that range. But you're exactly right, though. The say administration, the organization as a whole, I really like that. The line currently sits at Minnesota 2.5, so about right where we were. Chase and I were a little bit heavier on the Vikings there, but I could see, I think, just everything considered, I think I like our lines quite a bit. Chase, you were a little bit off there, so you fucking stink. Moving forward, we got at the noon slate, Panthers, Bears, okay? Kind of what would have been considered an absolute shitbowl. It's one of the games everybody points to when they talk about shitty Thursday night football games. A couple years ago, it was Tyson Bagent and was it Bryce Young at that point?
Probably.
I think it was, and it was like 9-6 final. That was the epitome of Thursday night football that year. But things do kind of potentially have a bit of an upside this year with Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, stepping in for the Panthers and Caleb Williams doing his little hip, hip, hooray celebration. There is a chance that they find, this could become an instant classic, if you will, in the NFL history books. I think myself – actually, you know what? No, we've done Red first. We've done me first. Let's go to you first, Chase. What are your thoughts on Panthers, Bears in Soldier Field?
I think this will be a low-scoring game, just purely based on Caleb Williams not being able to score the football and the Panthers not being all that great. Let's see Hubbard go off for a lot here, take his over on his yards, and just that's complete vibes. Don't know what's at. We'll go Carolina -2.5.
Okay, I don't mind that play. Red, what do you got?
Yeah, this one I've had mixed feelings about this one. Initially, I was like, okay, the Bears, I believe they're at home. They've been looking good. Their defense is playing great. And you just have that with the Panthers, you just have that stink in your mind of like, they're just bad. So initially, I was kind of leaning Bears. But the more I think about it, Bryce Young not playing, Andy Dalton is playing, a lot more like veteran experience, veteran feel to that team. Mm-hmm. So to me, this is kind of a pick 'em. Mm-hmm. Like it's either Panthers -1, Bears -1. I feel like one way or the other, I don't think this is like a close game. Like I think by halftime, you're going to have a pretty good feeling of who's going to win this game. It might be like numerically close just because both offenses are terrible. Yeah. But I feel like we'll have a good sense of who's in control of that game by halftime.
I could definitely see that. I think the score on the field will be close at halftime. I don't think any one of these teams is necessarily going to run away with it, but that doesn't mean I think it's necessarily pick 'em. I've got the Panthers -5.5 here. I think the experience that Dalton's bringing to that team is something to be noted. However, the pixie dust, if you will, of a brand new quarterback manning that whole operation is kind of wearing off by this point. So I could definitely see the Bears keeping it closer than 5.5. But the way the NFL scores kind of fall, like 5.5 would not surprise me if the Panthers end up winning by 6. Some random, not necessarily a touchdown, but a few field goals, and then it's kind of a touchdown game the rest of the way. I personally think it could end up being Panthers 5.5. The line currently sits at Chicago -4, so I'm on the wrong side of that. I think that them being at home helps that line quite a bit. Speaking of at home, I think the home crowd is going to move this line the most. We got Baltimore at Cincinnati, so Ravens at Bengals. And Redden, what do you think of, I guess, the game as a whole? Because the Bengals are 1-3. The Ravens are 2-2. I think the Bengals are a bad 1-3, and the Ravens are a good 2-2. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, this is one that I think it's like a learn about both teams type of game. I have Ravens -4 written down, and I think that still holds true. But I think we're going to see some fight out of Cincy that we're not quite accustomed to seeing yet. We've seen it in years past where Cincy starts slow, Burrow starts slow, they're not quite clicking. they had all that wide receiver drama going on throughout the like training camp and preseason. So I think by mid-season we'll see Cincy and like playing how we expect them to play. It's just, does that happen this week? Is this the game where it's like, oh yeah, Cincy's legit? Or does that happen 3-4 weeks down the road? I don't know. If I had to pick it, I'm taking the Ravens -4.5, but I could see it going either way.
Interesting. Chase, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat as him. I think the books like Joe Burrow just because it's Joe Burrow, and I think it'll be tighter than what I think it should be, but I like Baltimore to cover whatever it is. I would put them, I like around that 4.5 mark, similar to Redden. That's where I would throw it at, but I'm also terrible at sports betting. So.
Yeah, I think that's something to be noted here. None of us are necessarily significantly up against the books. Let's put it that way. But hey, this is a statistical advantage, okay? We're not going off of necessarily like when I bet touchdown scores, it's like, do I know who Mike Evans is? Well, he's probably going to score this week. All right. That has not worked out for me thus far, but I think I'm going to take it a little bit further. I want to go Ravens 9.5. But I don't know if I like it that high. I kind of want to come down to that 7.5. I think they can get the hook. It'll be probably an 8-point win. So I feel like it's a little much, but it's not too much. Like 9.5 feels like a lot. The current line sits at Baltimore 2.5. So we're all on Baltimore's side. I think we're a little bit split on whether or not they deserve to, like our line, like we're, kind of in that 2.5, 4.5 range there. I think personally I'm going to stay away from that one. But a game that I can't stay away from because I'm a fan of, I will definitely not bet it, is Dolphins at Patriots. This game is I think is going to be what Panthers-Bears was a few years ago. Honestly, I think it's only getting worse by the week as the Patriots lose their starting center to season-ending surgery, and we have officially started the tank. So I've embraced it. We're already in, week 5, and I hope we lose the rest of our games. This is why I'm an NFL fan. I fucking love it. If you ask me twice, I won't probably give you the same answer. But I think I'm going to personally go Dolphins -2. I don't, maybe 1.5, 2.5. I don't think it really matters. I think it's going to be a battle of who can get more field goals and who has less turnovers. That's really what this game's going to come down to because there's not going to be any standout offensive play necessarily. Chase, what do you make of the current situation quarterback-wise in Miami, and what do you think will be the key factor in this game for either team that wins it?
I mean, I agree with you a lot. I think this game will absolutely be gross and suck. But I am going to think Miami's going to win it. They have big playmakers on the field. Huntley came in like 2 weeks ago, so, I mean, he's still pretty new to the offense. Could get on the right foot here maybe, hopefully. I'll take it Miami 3.5.
3.5, okay, getting the field goal hook there. And for you, Red, what is your
I like the Patriots.
What is your okay.
I like the Patriots. I don't trust Mike McDaniel without Tua. I just don't think that's a winning combination like Mike McDaniel without Tua. I think with he's a very good coach, but without, he kind of loses his guy.
Yeah.
And that hurts him a lot, I think. I don't think they probably had a huge contingency plan in place for what if Tua gets hurt? That just doesn't feel like how the Dolphins do it. It feels like they're we're a really, really nice Lamborghini, and if a part breaks, it's I guess the car's just not running now.
I guess, yeah.
Hopefully it works its way out. So I like the Patriots here. I think I'm checking that up to another organization deal where it's I expect the Patriots to be a team. They just feel like a feisty team who will be able to beat teams that they should beat and teams that are going through trying to figure stuff out. I feel like the Patriots can catch those teams.
I'm going to say this. I don't think there's a team left on the Patriots schedule we're supposed to beat. I think we're absolute dog shit. So are we supposed?
So are the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's true. But we're going to have to start winning games that we are not supposed to win if we want to ruin the tank and make a push at the Super Bowl. Let's just say my week 1 high is officially gone. Thank God I don't have the whiteboard behind me anymore. Yeah, I think. What was your line you set there? I know you went.
I said Patriots -1.5.
1.5. Okay, so right about where it's at. It currently sits at New England 1. So you were the closest, pretty much right on the nose there. I think the biggest thing is that Jacoby Brissett is averaging about 17 sacks a fucking week right now. Our line has only gotten worse. There's a chance he fumbles every time he touches the ball. Gerard Mayo's thinking about taking out Stevenson because he fumbles too damn much. Our defense is in shambles. I don't see any reason for the Patriots to win this game, and the only way is if it's an organizational thing and they're able to, like the whole do your job thing, which I know they don't want part of that anymore, right? That's old Patriots. They're starting the new regime. Well, the new regime fucking sucks, so we got to figure something out real goddamn quick, because if we lose to the Dolphins in the current state they're in, I don't even know. I'm gonna have to pick up a second team for the rest of the season. I don't know. It's just so fucking bad. But speaking of picking up a second team for the rest of the season, if it were going to be a team, it would be the Commanders. The Commanders are at home against the Browns this week. I love watching the Commanders play. They were a team that I picked to win the NFC East. Moving into the year, I got a little bit clowned on. Okay, a little bit unnecessary. So I don't know if I want to bring that up, but I do know that Jane Daniels is playing out of his goddamn mind. Terry McLaurin is the happiest he's ever been. And the whole Commanders program is just skyrocketing through the roof. Hopefully they get a new stadium soon. Chase, what do you make of this game? The Browns kind of, 1-3, struggling a little bit. Commanders 3-1, leading that division, looking really good as it is right now. Where do you have the line?
I think Washington probably blows them out. I don't know if the books will put them as a huge favorite, although they should. I'd like it at 5.5. I'll still take Washington. I'd probably take it up to 7, honestly. This Washington team is really fun to watch. Jane Daniels is the real deal. Terry's a freak. As he's always been, he just hasn't had a quarterback, and now he might finally have one early in his career to say so, but he looks good. I hope he's good, because there'd be nothing more classic than the second pick being better than the first.
It's
5.5.
That's how it goes. I love that. That's kind of how CJ Stroud last year, right?
Exactly.
Perfect example. Red, what do you think?
I also like the Commanders here. I feel like it's going to be a little bit tighter. I said Commanders -2.5 because I believe this game. Oh, it is in Washington.
It is.
Okay, so maybe it's 3.5. But I feel like the Browns, like, they have their. You look at their roster and it's like they should be decent.
Yeah.
Like you'd think, but they just have not put it together. They seem like they're just a mess. I kind of agree. Like, I don't hate what Chase said when he's like, I feel like whatever it is, just take the Commanders. I kind of agree with that. If I had to set the line, I'd say 2.5, though.
I think the only way Cleveland wins this game is if they play Jameis, and we all know
Correct.
what the line would be if Jameis were on the field. We're huge proponents of Jameis here. I wanted the line a lot higher. I thought you guys would go higher, making me feel bad going to that 9.5 mark, but I'm going to stick by it here. I think I came down from it on some of the – what was the other game I picked that line for? Was it Ravens-Bengals? I think I can stick with that here. I like the Commanders quite a bit. 10 points is a lot, but I don't think that the Browns are very good. I think that's really what it comes down to. The current line is -3 for Washington. We're all over that mark or right at that mark. So I think if you want to take our advice, it's not advice. It's not financial advice. It is our opinion of the current state of the game between the Browns and the Commanders. I would lean Commanders personally, but I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, to be fair. Next up, we got a classic AFC South showdown between the Colts and the Jags. 0-4 Jags. I don't think they've won a game with Trevor Lawrence since 2004 or something like that. And the Colts are 2-2. Anthony Richardson getting hurt against was it the Steelers last week? That was a bit of a devastating blow, and Joe Flacco came in and played well. I think they said AR is going to be back. AR-15 will be firing shots out on the field this week, I think. With that, I want to go Colts, especially if they're playing Joe Flacco. But I think if they're going to play AR, my line is going to come down to 4.5. I think it could be higher because the Jags stink. But if AR is out there, he's a bit of a liability. What do you think, Red?
Yeah, I also feel like if it's Flacco, love the Colts. With Anthony Richardson out there, it's like, that's a huge question mark. Like, he's either, like, every play you watch, like, I've seen it all over Twitter, like, after every Colts game, it's like, Anthony Richardson, you're either going to watch him play, and you're like, that is the best quarterback to ever play, yeah. Or you're like, this guy's the worst guy in the league.
Yeah.
And there's really, and it's like on a play-by-play basis. Like, it just fluctuates.
Yeah.
So I said Colts -2.5. My hope is that they play Flacco.
I hope so.
But with Richardson maybe playing, it's like, okay, that line's going to have to just come down a little bit.
I agree. Chase, where are you at? Do you think the AR situation lowers your line a little bit here?
No, I completely agree with you guys. I think Flacco is probably the better, like, pro QB just right now because AR just airs it out. I mean, there's going to be less plays, but this Jacksonville team stinks. I don't know what is wrong with Trevor Lawrence. of what's going on with the team, but they are not good. I think they'll have it tight, probably 2.5 Indy. I won't touch the game no matter what. So,
well, Doug Peterson coming out and basically saying what he did was interesting, to say the least. It felt like a little bit like that video that came out. Do you remember? It was like a meme video. The guy was like, well, my players fucking suck. I did everything I could, and this team is the worst. Well, no shit. I can't fucking go out there and play myself. It felt a little bit like that. So he says he hasn't lost the locker room yet, but I think a loss to the Colts could potentially tip that teeter-totter a little bit against him. And I don't see – I mean, they're going to have to basically win out for him to keep that job, I think. Maybe they sneak in as a wild card team and he keeps it, I guess. But the way things are going right now, it is not looking good. Next up. We got Bills, Texans, 2-3-1 teams.
What's the line?
Oh, for the Colts-Jags game?
Yep.
Yeah.
My apologies. I was just looking at it. I thought I had, my bad. I got Jags -3. That is currently what ESPN has it at.
Whoa.
This is ESPN bet, so, FanDuel and DraftKings are probably going to look a little bit different. But, I mean, we are all on the Colts, so another one maybe you consider there. But, yeah, speaking of the Bills-Texans, we'll just move right into that. It's in Houston. It is the 3-1 versus 3-1. I don't know. What do you think here, Chase? I don't know what to make of this yet.
Yeah, the Texans have kind of looked rough the past couple of weeks. They don't look super great anymore. Buffalo looks legit. I like Buffalo. 3.5 probably. I still think C.J. Stroud has some life in him. He's got weapons. But Josh Allen, that's it.
That's really all you need to say. I mean, to be honest. Red, what do you got here?
Yeah, similar to what Chase said. I said Bills -1.5. I feel like it's going to probably be a close game. Hopefully it's a fun shootout to watch. If this was a primetime game, I would 100% say the Bills. But this feels like one of those games where, like, the Texans, they could just blow them out, and then everyone's like, oh, the Texans are legit. But so far, the Texans, they haven't gelled quite yet. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they probably will down the line here. I feel like it's coming. But me personally, if I had to say, it'd be Bills -1.5.
Seems like we're all kind of on the same wavelength here. I've been surprised with the Bills secondary after all I think they had like 11 guys from last year that are not playing. Not necessarily all starters, obviously, but just like from the secondary, they had 11 guys playing last year that are currently out for injury or traded away or like whatever the situation may be. Very different secondary, and they've played very, very well. I wanted to go Texans off the bat, but I think this will be a very, very close game, or at least the line should be. Obviously you guys mentioned it. I think Texans could win this game pretty handily because the Bills, I feel like they're kind of boom or bust at times. So I'm going to take it 1.5 as well. I think that's what you had there, Red. Yeah, so 2.5, 1.5. I think that's a pretty solid line. Currently, it sits at 1, actually. I'm not looking at these until I go to read them, so that's a little bit surprising to me, which is funny because that's exactly what I just said. So I don't know if I'm discrediting myself as I speak, but moving towards the next game, we're in the 3 o'clock slate now. We've got Raiders-Broncos in Denver, 2-2 versus 2-2, an AFC West showdown. We got, I think no, not all, but almost every single one of these games this week is divisional, which always adds an extra layer into these games. And, I mean, some of them are true rivalries, some are not. Speaking of rivalries, Devontae Adams against the Raiders. I mean, what the hell is going on there? He just asked for a trade, or how do you say, prefers a trade?
Yeah, he'd like one, but he's not going to, like, officially say it.
Yeah, it's like when I, like, do you want that extra piece of pizza? I would prefer it, but, like, not gonna, if you want it, like, go ahead. I probably shouldn't even eat it anyways. I'm fucking putting on the pounds right now, getting ready for that winter hibernation mode. I personally think I'm going to go Raiders -1, just because of the turmoil that they seem to be under right now. It seems like that locker room is always kind of just in disarray. 1 week a year, they'll break out the cigars and start smoking just because they beat the, like, 2 lost Chiefs. Or, obviously they never beat the Chiefs, but you know what I mean. They win some random game, break out the cigars. Oh, the Raiders are turning around. Next week they lose by 15 to the Chargers. So I'm going to take the Raiders -1 here. Do you think that's close enough, or do you even think that the Broncos could win this game here, Red?
I said Raiders -1.5 when I wrote it down before we started all this. I feel like, I don't know. This is a game that I don't care to watch.
No.
I don't really care who wins, but I don't know. There's something about the Broncos that just doesn't feel quite right yet. Like, Bo Nix just does not seem like he's probably going to work out. And the Raiders just, to me, this comes down to head coaches. We got Sean Payton versus D'Amico Ryans.
Nope, D'Amico's Texans. Antonio Pierce.
Antonio Pierce,
Yeah,
yep.
Pierce.
And it feels like he's better at motivating his team to just go win gross games.
Yeah.
So if it's going to be a gross game, I prefer the coach who seems like they know how to win the gross games. So I'm going to go with the Ravens Raiders -1.5.
Yeah, I don't mind that play. I think of all the rookie quarterbacks, Bo Nix has like done the most winning somehow. I don't know what the exact stats are, but it just seems like he's winning with like 60 yards passing.
It's wild.
He'll go into halftime.
He doesn't throw the ball farther than the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and it's all rack, and it's like 72 yards for the whole game.
Yeah, like if you think Bo Nix is good, I have some oceanfront property to sell you down in Arizona.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Chase, what do you make of Bo Nix in Denver? Obviously, apparently was the next Patrick Mahomes coming out of the draft, and Sean Payton was pretty high on him. So far, it doesn't seem to be panning out. Do you think the Raiders can snag this game?
I think they can. I don't know if they will, but it's at Denver, Mile High, altitude. I think Denver will probably sneak it out. I don't know if Max Crosby's playing. I know he was out last week. I think they said it might be just a week thing. But if he's out, I really like Bo Nix and the Broncos. I'll take it minus. I like a pick 'em almost -1 Denver.
Okay. Well, finally, we've got different picks here. We've basically been just kind of riding the same bus this entire time. I like that you broke it up there. I think you're wrong, but the books don't. The books currently have it at Denver -2.5. So Red and I could potentially be looking at a little bit of stolen money there. I don't know why they are so high on Denver. I really actually do not understand that. Next 3 o'clock.
Just low on the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't mind that play though, because it just feels like the Raiders aren't good, but they're slightly better.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense one way or the other.
I really don't know what to make of that game, and I agree with you the most here, Red. I'm not going to be watching it.
No, absolutely not.
I accidentally bought another month of the Red Zone, so like it might pop on, but that's when I'm going to go run to the bathroom real quick. Like I'm not vested in that game. Even if it's close down the line, I really don't think I'm going to watch a second of that. Cardinals 49ers, I think this game could be a little bit more fun to watch in a way with Marvin Harrison and then obviously the 49ers being what they are. I don't remember when this news broke necessarily, and I don't think we've touched on it, but Christian McCaffrey, Achilles tendonitis in both legs. Poor guy. I mean, you can't even give him crutches for that because those are just stilts from your arms. Like it's not really avoidable.
He can't walk.
No, he's like in a wheelchair.
He can't walk.
Yeah,
that's
like,
a problem.
We need to have him on for Handicap Hour.
There you go.
Yeah, that's tough. That is really tough. So I don't know when the next time he's coming back is, but obviously, is it Juwan Jennings? Is that right?
Yep.
I mean, he's balling. So they do have a guy back there. Brock Purdy, I don't know if he's silencing the haters necessarily, but he's playing pretty well. Obviously, doesn't have the superstar lineup that he normally does. Red, let's go to you. What do you make of this game?
I love this game. I think this game will be really fun. Both offenses have like dudes. Like I think it'll just be a fun game. Now watch it be like 17-13, but I feel like it should be a fun game. We got Kyler Murray. We got Maserati Marv. We got Brock Purdy. Not quite as cool as the other guys. But regardless, I feel like this should be a fun – like on paper, you say this is a fun game. Me personally, I'm taking the 49ers -5.5. They do have an ace in the hole in Kyle Shanahan. I feel like he's going to be able to outcoach Gannon. Like that just feels like a matchup that Shanahan normally wins. So for me, I'm taking the Niners -5.5.
Chase, what do you make of this? I feel like you're going to be higher on the Cardinals than I expect you to be.
Well, you would be wrong.
Okay. Well, you kind of just.
I like San Fran here. They get Debo back. Jordan Mason's back there putting the work in while CMC is out. They got the weapons. Purdy's okay. I like San Fran 4.5.
4.5.
Arizona's not quite as good as them, I don't think. I like what Ren said about the coaches. Outcoached, outmanned. Let's take San Fran 4.5.
I like the 4.5 line as well. That's about where I was going to land. I think it'll be a little bit tighter than it probably should be. Not saying that San Fran is like bad by any means. I just don't. I think the Cardinals will somehow keep it close. And I just realized Maserati Marv needs to be our guy. We need to find him. We need to get him on the line. Marv on air.
They can't even get him to. That's true, but they can't even get him to sign a player's agreement.
Yeah, but maybe we just like ask him nicely. Have they tried that?
That's true. I did hear in contract talks they were being very mean.
They're not very nice. We're nice guys over here. I mean,
Very nice.
Look at Chase. All he does is smile the whole episode. Little grinning little boy over there. If you haven't been able to see Chase smile in his little way through these episodes, it's very cute. It's very little. It's like precious over there. I love it. It's a special addition to the show. And if you're listening, do remember, we are on YouTube. We are always available to watch our shenanigans. You can see our visual reactions, but obviously we do appreciate the podcast community because you guys are the unsung heroes that are keeping us afloat, a.k.a. The dark horses. You know? Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
You guys are the best. Chase doesn't like you guys very much. He's like, hey, we need to cut the podcast. And I'm like, no. We like those people. We really do. Yeah, I like the 4.5 there. Currently, the line sits at 7. So they're favoring San Fran a little bit more. I think, I don't know if I want to go all the way to a touchdown. We got 3 games left on Sunday and then 1 left on Monday. We'll kind of fly through these a little bit because they all kind of stink, except for one. I know Redden has one down in his sleeve here he really wants to touch on, but Packers at Rams. I think personally, the Packers kind of stink with Jordan Love. I don't know if it's because it's Jordan Love or just the team isn't really sure what's going on at the quarterback position. I think I want to take Rams -2 here. I don't think the Rams are much better. They're 1-3 to the Packers 2-2, but it is at home. They're undefeated at home. It's Matthew Stafford. It's Sean McVay with his 35-second play calls. I think they can get this done, but I don't think it'll be by a lot. What do you make of this, Chase?
I'm not with you at all on this, really. I don't think the Rams are as good as Green Bay. Jordan Love comes in, not great the first half, way better the second. They were getting blown out by the Vikings and came back and made it a semi-decent game for a second. Vikings still ended up winning by, I think, 9 almost.
Yeah.
I like Green Bay, probably 3.5 is probably where I'd put it. I just don't think the Rams are the Rams really right now. I think they're dealing with injuries. If I'm
Oh yeah, basically everybody's hurt over there.
Yeah, Kupp and Puka,
yeah,
I believe are both out still. So I don't know who Stafford's going to throw the ball to. Let Williams eat probably, but Green Bay -3.5.
He'll probably find a way. What do you make of that, Red?
Chase, write this down. Packers -4.5.
Ooh.
Like
okay. Okay.
That's all I have on this game. The Rams are just too hurt. I think the Packers they're good. Like, they're fine.
They're fine.
Jordan Love's fine. Matt LaFleur, they're fine. Like, I don't think they're going to win their division, but I think they're fine. And the Rams are just hurt. So, I like the Packers.
You heard it here first, folks. Packers, fine. The current line sits at Green Bay -3. So you guys were a little bit more on that. I was apparently wrong. I guess the Rams kind of stink. Speaking of stinking, Giants, worst fucking team ever. I don't know how they've got a win. They are going onto the road to see the Seahawks at the home of the 12th man. The 3-1 Seahawks just lost to the Lions, I believe, on Monday Night Football. That was a pretty good game, honestly, much better than the shit show that was Titans Dolphins. And I'll go to you here first, Red. What do you make of this?
Yeah, the Giants are bad. I said Seahawks -5.5. I think it would be more, but I did give like a point to, like, I had 6.5. Then I'm like, okay, they did play Monday Night Football. They are on short rest. Move it down to 5.5. So to me, it's another game I don't really care to watch too much. I think the Seahawks probably handle them if I had to guess. So I'm taking the Seahawks here.
Okay, yeah, I guess we should both be working for the books because I went 6.5. We're basically on the exact same wavelength here. I didn't take a point away for that Monday Night Football game, but I just think the Seahawks are really good, and the Giants just stink. That's the end of the story for me. Chase, what do you got?
I'm on a similar wavelength as you guys. The only thing I don't like is Seattle's a little banged up. I think they're missing almost 7 defensive starters last week against Detroit. The secondary looked egregious. It looked bad. So maybe Neighbors has a huge game with Daniel Jones and they keep it a little closer. But I'm kind of in the same boat. I'll go 5.5 Seattle.
Okay, so we were basically all on the same thing there. I just think that if the Seahawks were able to play that kind of game against Detroit, they're going to fucking tear up the Giants. That's just what I think. The books seem to be on the exact same thought process we are. Seattle -6.5. We basically nailed that one right on the head. Our Sunday night game, Redden. What do we got here?
I love how you're hyping up like I love this game, and I kind of do.
You do.
Like, it seems like it should be a gross game, but it's Steelers, Cowboys in Pittsburgh. I hate the Cowboys. The Steelers, I have no feelings one way or the other for, really, outside of they seem like they should be so bad, but they're somehow winning. And Mike Tomlin, he just wins, and he's fun to watch win because, like, the Steelers, they're like when you watch a Steelers game, you know exactly what you're signing up for.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're not pretending at all to be good on offense, but they're like, we're just going to play man football. They just play man football, and it's Pittsburgh at night. They're going to play Renegade probably 5 or 6 times. They probably should play it more. It's such a good song. That crowd's always electric. I love the Steelers here. I don't know what the books are going to say. I said Steelers -1.5. I think I'll take them probably regardless of what the books are, unless it's like Steelers -4, 5.5. Then it gets a little dicey because then you're like, I don't know if I trust the Steelers to score that much. But me personally, I love the Steelers here. I hope it's like 17-6 Steelers. That would be so much fun.
It would be awesome.
It'd be so much fun.
And Red's bringing the energy here as we kind of close out. We're not done by any means, but we're getting close to the end of this slate. And you probably noticed a little bit of an energy lull, like for the last 3-4 games. You know why that is? We played Renegade. We played Renegade before the show, and I got fired up. That shit really gets you going. It is awesome, and obviously it wears off at some point, so you got to play it again. Redden bringing the energy there. I 100% agree, and I have the exact same line. I got Steelers -1.5. Cowboys, I don't know if Micah Parsons is playing or not. I know he got hurt, potential something going on there, and then there was like one other guy, or I know Malik Neighbors had his concussion, so maybe I'm just confusing that for another Cowboys player. I don't know exactly what's going to happen on the Cowboys front, but I don't really care. I like Pittsburgh. I like the Renegade, the terrible towel. I like everything they have going on in Pittsburgh, and I like Mike Tomlin a lot. I'm going to go 1.5. Chase, are you kind of in that same boat?
Yeah, same boat. I think books will probably have it Dallas, but I like Pittsburgh here. They play a little bit of gross football. Dallas, they're just gross in general. I like low-scoring games. I'd like to see it Pittsburgh -1.5. I hope they give Dallas as the favorite, just because I'll take Pittsburgh money line then. Let's go.
Yeah, all on -1.5, and the line currently sits at 2.5. So we're on the right side.
2.5 for who?
For Pitt.
So
I know it stinks.
Bum.
I think that the Steelers, I do think they win this game. And then finally, our last game. Definitely not going to fucking watch this shit because guess who's at home? The Chiefs playing the Saints. Chase, you were basically obligated to watch this game, this being your Saints team and all. 2-2 currently after starting off so hot. I just hate the Chiefs. I really do. If we're going to factor in the fact that they have more than 11 players on the field at any given time, I'd probably take this line to like 25.5. But I think more realistically, let's sit at I want to go 8.5 for the Chiefs here. Chase, this is your team that I'm picking against here. I do apologize. It's nothing against the Saints. It really isn't. It's just the fact that the Chiefs, they sold their soul to somebody, okay? They're winning their third straight Super Bowl this year. Travis Kelce is going to be married by the end of 2025. I don't know what else. Like, I hate it. I really do. What do you think?
Yeah, same boat, kind of, not really. It's too many points. It'll be 4.5 Chiefs, but Saints have looked rough the last 2 games. They might have played 2 really bad teams the first 2 weeks, which could have something to do with it. I think Kansas City will probably win like 17-14 just because they like to win close games for some reason.
Oh, true. I didn't think about that. That's a good
And
point.
Rasheed's out probably because Mahomes decided to blow up his knee. And then
he's probably done.
I don't know if Pacheco's back yet or not.
No.
So perfect. If it's 4.5, take Saints money line just because I like them to sneak one out here. I'm just hoping that's fan bet completely. So 100%. Don't do that.
Okay, so we're impartial.
I'll go 4.5 Chiefs.
Yeah, we got our Saints guy. We got our Chiefs hater going to red here. I think you're probably the most middle ground guy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the Saints pretty much, they just said, we're here for a good time, not a long time. And they were like, we're going to be really good the first 2 weeks. We're going to look like Super Bowl contenders. And then they were like, we had our fun. We're done. I still think that the Chiefs just play surprisingly close games. And I chalk that up to, at any given point, they're like, we just need to be within 10 going into the fourth quarter and we're fine.
Yeah.
Like, they know Mahomes is good for winning the fourth quarter by at least 4 points. So it feels like going into games, they know that and they play that way. And it's so frustrating to watch because you're just expecting the Chiefs, like one of these times when they're down like 7 at half, like they have to get caught. But they just never do because if Mahomes is within 2 touchdowns with 10 minutes left in the game, it just feels like they're going to win. And it feels like the other teams feel like they're going to lose. They're like, oh, Mahomes is just too close. I think other teams are like, he's too good. I don't think they should feel that way because this is like one of the least talented Chiefs teams we've seen offensively. So it's like, if you're going to get them now. Like, everyone's hurt.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't feel like teams are playing that way. So I said Chiefs minus 6.5. I think that the Saints are probably bad. Sorry, Chase. But, I mean, you had your fun there in the first couple weeks.
It was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Fun. It was a lot of fun.
You guys were Super Bowl contenders for like
Bro, that
14 days.
Yeah, it was
We're
like
the best team in the league for 2 weeks.
Well, to be fair, the way the season started, it was a Saints Patriots Super Bowl. Like,
that's true.
Look where we are now. I don't know about that. The line currently sits at KC minus 5.5. I forgot about that, Chase. They do play these games really, really close, and I hate it. And they do. And that's just the current state of the matter. They win every goddamn week. It is time now for our segment that has been reoccurring. We have officially a reoccurring segment. I don't know how many episodes we've done, 5 or 6 or something like that. And we've done it every single week. You know it's not going anywhere. It's time for 0 to Hero. Redden, why don't you kick us off with your do you want to go hero everybody, or do you want to do both of yours?
What if we went around and did our zeros first?
Okay.
Everyone ends on their hero.
I like this. I like this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Get
what
the
do you
vibes
got?
up.
What do you
End with
got
the vibes
for your zero of the week?
My zero of the week is the MLB. They let Pete Rose die before inducting him into the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
That just seems ridiculous. Pete Rose is one of the best pure baseball players of all time.
Yeah.
How is he not in your Hall of Fame? Like, I get that it's like, they're like, oh, well, it's an honor to be inducted, and he gambled on games. And it's like, he's also one of the pure best athletes of your sport. Like, if you don't want to give him a shrine in wherever the Pro Baseball Hall of Fame is located, like, I get that. But it's like one of those things, it's like you can't tell the story of baseball without talking about the Pete Roses of the world, the Barry Bonds of the world. It's like, did they cheat? Yes. 80s and 90s baseball, that's all that was going on.
Yeah.
Like, that's all that happened. Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, they were all on steroids. So if you want to tell the story of baseball, I think you tell it accurately and you honor the legends of the game, regardless of if they gambled on their team to win.
I like that. I do. I think the way you have to tell the story the way it's told. You know, we don't act like there's no technical difficulties here at Marv on Air. That's a part of the show. Today, seamless. Okay, well, let's not wish anything away, but you got to tell it how it is, and I do agree with that. I think it's kind of a bit of a. It's not like a complete knock on the reputation of the MLB Hall of Fame necessarily, but it's kind of like
nobody's gonna look down on the Hall of Fame and be like, oh, they let Pete Rose in. This is not a legitimate Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
But people do look down on it because they don't let him in.
Exactly.
And they let him pass away, and it's sad. I don't think he was definitely a better baseball player than a human being. I think that's probably safe to say because he was a top 5 baseball player of all time, probably not a top 5 human of all time.
That's hard to do.
But, yeah, just let him in. Just if you're the Hall of Fame, just give it away.
A lot more humans out there than baseball players, that's for sure. I don't know if, Chase, you feel the same way. I think that the era of just load those boys up with as much roids as we can, cork the bats, and hit as many goddamn piss missiles as possible is one of the best eras of baseball. I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't even be mad if they went back to it. What do you think here, Chase? I don't know if do you have anything to say on this? You're not a baseball guy.
No, not a huge baseball guy. I agree, though. Let him roid up and hit bombs.
Why not?
Couldn't have said better myself.
Why not? Postseason baseball just started. Imagine if they were just like, all right, we're going to make the baseballs like an ounce lighter, which actually does affect it a lot, and everyone can juice. It would be the most watched postseason baseball has ever been, at least since there were like televisions in color.
I think that the reason they don't is because they want to keep scoreboards intact. They can't be having bombs hitting the scoreboard and breaking them.
Yeah,
I think it comes down to money. I think that's what it is.
It's because baseball is like they're so just like, what's even the word? They're like cavemen.
Integrity.
They're like
integrity.
I was thinking
yeah.
it's like, how can we make this sport the most boring as possible? Like, that's what our product is. You know, everyone's got to
Well,
find their angle.
That's why they try to like change it as minimally as possible, is because it is such like a historic sport. And they're like, oh, the records from the 1940s, these are like legendary records. They shouldn't be broken. We can't make the balls juiced. We can't do this, this, and this, because then all the records are going to get broken. They're the only sport who's like, we need to actively try to counteract athletes getting better, because otherwise all of our precious records are going to get broken.
You're right,
like,
though.
Break all the records.
Yeah.
That is good for your sport.
That's what they're there for.
Yeah, but
why they're there.
Baseball's annoying.
Yeah, I think
Rob Manfred's an idiot.
they need to have more apple pie sales if they want to stick to the thought of it being America's sport. I mean, it's just they go hand in hand. Hot dogs,
They should sell apple pie.
beer, apple pie, baseball. Bam, that's all you need. Chase, who's your 0 for the week?
Yeah, I kind of have two. I kind of have a more personal one, and then one that's more newsworthy. I'll go.
All right, let 'em
with
rip.
The news. I'll go with the newsworthy one first, and it's Taco Bell burritos, because the guy that
Jesus
said
Christ.
who was the team that got beat
K-State.
by BYU? K-State. If they got beat by BYU, he would shove a 5-layer beef burrito up his ass. And guess what? He came through and he did it.
Legend.
He shoved one up his ass, posted it on Twitter. It was a crazy picture. Don't look it up because you'll be scarred and never eat Taco Bell again. But absolutely crazy that he did that.
Chase, don't lie. It's your screensaver.
What's wild about all that is he said at halftime of the Alabama-Georgia game when Bama was up 28-0, he said that if Georgia comes back and wins, he'll do a face reveal.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This man's putting it all on the line.
He
right
was
now.
sweating that game like a lot.
Holy shit, dude. Start an
Yeah.
OnlyFans. Start a Taco Bell OnlyFans at that point. That's your angle. All right. We got feet in tacos. We got like I don't even want to explore that realm of what's possible. Maybe it was a business opportunity for him. Maybe he wasn't sweating it. Maybe he was excited.
Definitely not. I feel like that's not something you want the internet knowing. Like,
Absolutely.
probably not.
The way Twitter runs now, though, it's actually it's insane. But Chase, thank you for ruining Taco Bell for me. I mean,
No
what are you
problem.
doing?
Anytime.
It's one of the best restaurants of all time. My 0 for the week is going to be the Bears organization as a whole. And we talked about how much they stink. We talked about how much they kind of fumbled the number 1 pick, at least at this point in time. Maybe things turn around and it looks a little bit better for Caleb Williams. But this week, Tom Brady brought his notes onto his broadcasting suite. I don't remember what game they were covering. And talked about how the Bears were like $7 million a year away from signing him. Like he was really, really considering it. They were kind of like a sneaky negotiator in there. And I mean, Bears fans, after hearing that, they have to be depressed. I feel like it's one of those things for me where I would almost be like, well, it's not what happened. What happened, happened. Let's forget about it. But man, you lose Tom Brady. Think about how different the franchise would be now. Like the picks that all happened, the way that everybody like would have flocked to the organization, maybe end up with a Super Bowl. Who knows? I think that one was for Bears fans. Actually, you know what? Let's make it Bears fans because they really had to live that. They could have lived their whole life without knowing that, and then Tom just came in and fucking shit on them. That was.
I think if you're a Bears fan, you're like, Tom Brady thought about coming here.
Oh.
That's a win.
Okay.
Like, he considered it.
He did. Tom Brady in Chi-Town though. Ooh, I don't know if that's.
I think it would have been sick.
It would well like
Yeah.
as a human living in the city would have been scary. I think. I don't know. Maybe he could hang. I don't know. Who knows? He seems pretty chill.
He lived in Boston, didn't he?
I don't know.
Boston area?
I'm sure they don't live, like,
In
in the cities.
well, Tom basically lived in the stadium though. Like that's all he did.
True.
So maybe he'd be protected in there. Moving towards our hero for the week, Red. Let's see what you got here.
My hero of the week is Connor Stallions.
Ooh.
You're probably like, why? This doesn't make any sense. Chase just gave me a look. It's all right, Chase. Our good friends, our good personal friends over at the Pardon My Take podcast,
Best friends actually.
they said that they're probably going to hire Connor Stallions onto their team
Wow.
to just do whatever they want. They said they're going to have him scout the New Heights podcast, figure out what they're doing. He's going to be like their security team, making sure nobody gets too close to him. And I just, knowing how good those guys are at churning out funny content, like having Connor Stallions just like around them on a day-to-day basis, like they're going to have like just insane assignments for him.
So
Like
who's
he
the-
might break, there's a non-zero chance he breaks into wherever like New Heights is like hosted from and sabotages everything.
Yeah.
There's a non-zero chance,
So
and I love it.
Who's the real hero here? Is it Connor or is it Barstool?
I think it's still Connor Stallion. He's a legend. Like he's one of the greatest college football stories of all time.
Agreed.
Like it's not even close.
Yeah, no, I think when you get a documentary that fast, that says something for sure.
It's beautiful.
I did have to wave. Connor, I know you're watching. I know you're obviously this is like the best show out there. Nobody else is watching it, but when I see that one podcast view come in, actually it'll be two. Mitchell Minor and Connor Stallions. And we're glad you're here, Connor. We appreciate you stopping by. Chase, who is your hero for the week?
My hero is Ryan Williams. We touched on it a lot. 17-year-old wide receiver tearing up SEC defenses. Can't even buy a pack of cigs. I mean, just a freak.
There's a lot of things you can't do at 17.
He's barely able to drive.
Can't even vote.
Yeah, he's barely able to drive.
No, but I don't need to touch on it much more. We hit on him a lot earlier, but he's going to be something special.
That's kind of weird, Chase. You're hitting on a 17-year-old. That's not even legal.
Initial thought was
Chase, don't get too carried away.
You know
here.
what? Let's go with this. Let's give Chase a break from the cameras to give him some time to gather himself. As I bring it home with our final hero for the week, very important difference here. Okay, for those of you listening, you might be confused because of the first zero for the week. I'm going to wrap it up with baseball. Now, that is not to be confused with the MLB. This is baseball as a whole is finally making its appearance back into the sports world as playoffs now are here. Redden touched on it. It's October. Playoff baseball has started. The way that the season ended was absolutely unreal. Redden, you probably know more about it than me, but when the Mets and the Braves went head-to-head in a doubleheader on the same day to figure out who was going to the playoffs between those two and the Diamondbacks. That's a really sick way to end the season. I think that kicked off the postseason in the best way possible. And it's only the wild card right now, so we're not going to get too deep into it because I don't even know anything about baseball in the first place, let alone to actually dive into these teams. But definitely, if you are watching at this point, you are not going to want to miss next week. Next week is going to be absolute. We got big plans for next week. But baseball is finally making it back onto the scene. And I will now bring back in Chase because it seems as though he has gained his composure back. Chase, are you going to be watching any baseball this October?
Probably not to the World Series, to be dead honest with you.
To be fair, I probably won't even watch that. So.
Now you guys are just a bunch of haters. It's America's pastime, man.
You know what? If you bake me an apple pie, I'll watch it.
It's not a terrible idea.
Some hot dogs and some beer. I'll sit down and watch World
That
Series.
sounds like a phenomenal Friday night.
I agree. Chase, you're invited.
Perfect.
Maybe.
All right.
Well, he has to stay in the other room, but he's allowed to be here.
That's true.
Can I have some apple pie at least?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, yes. A lot of apple pie.
You have to eat what we don't
All
without your hands. Like the pie
actually,
eating contest?
I think he's only allowed to use his hands. Like he has to chew it with his fingers. No chewing allowed.
God. Like mushing it up. Oh, I don't know about that.
Nah,
I'm sorry, Chase. I didn't make the rules. I didn't make the rules, okay? You are invited, though, if you want to abide by Redden's laws. That's just...
Yeah, you probably won't come up, though. I mean, baby's gotten good at goodbye.
What's that supposed to mean?
Don't worry about
That's
it.
exactly what you think it means, Chase. Look at him. He's speechless.
I can't.
Look at him. Look at
I
that.
couldn't hear you.
Look at the
You
look on
broke
this
up.
guy. Oh, yeah.
Chase, does Fort Worth ever cross your mind?
What about it?
You know everything.
Pretty.
about
It's
Fort
a yes
Worth.
or no question.
Yeah, it's actually pretty straightforward. Actually, it's yes or no.
Fort Worth.
There's only two options. You can choose yes or no.
Check yes or no, some might say.
Some might say that. It's like a ticket. Punch it or don't. You know what I mean?
I'm very lost.
Chase, it's not that hard.
Do you not want to come up here and eat apple pie with us?
God damn it. Yes or no?
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Chase,
Give
when
me the
did you
date.
stop loving me?
Like, literally, we offered for you to come up, gobble as many glizzies as you can, drink as many beers as possible. Granted, this is all happening in the room next to us. You're not allowed to be in the same room as us, but we watched a baseball game on a tiny little 1960s TV we found. We're going to give you the most American experience as possible, and you're trying to say no right now? What are we doing?
Can I do roids too, at least?
Chase, think
one
about the
night.
apple pie. She'll leave you with a smile.
Well, I personally don't love apple pie because you usually have to put ice cream on it. And I'm lactose intolerant. So it's like, how much do we really want to play that game? But I will risk it all for a truly American experience. What was that, Chase?
You're just soft. can't eat.
Yeah, what the hell is all this hate about? We're not going to go into that right now, but there's a lot of hate around lactose intolerance on the internet right now, and it's a bunch of fucking bullshit because when I have ice cream, let's just say it's not a choice. I don't go into that bathroom like, let's fucking go. This is going to be so fun. No, it is. We are fighting demons in there. All right. That's all we got for you this week. Be sure to tune in next week. We have an absolute banger of a segment. You're not going to want to miss this. Like, I'm not even joking. This is going to be so fun for us to not only shoot, but for you to watch. Chase, I'm assuming, will be back next week. We'll definitely have a guest. It'll be a fun interview. Now that we finally got the tech figured out in the new studio, we are really enjoying doing this. We're glad that you guys are here to listen to us. And Redden, will you please do me the honors?
All my exes live in Texas. Deuces.